Hey guys, Trevor here. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to be shooting this entire video from the trail outside of a couple of things that I'll share that I did before I got here today. I'm actually hiking at sunset, which is unusual for me as well. I'm usually a morning person getting up for the sunrise. So that's different. And the conditions are not the best. To be honest, it's bluebird skies, which by normal society standards is great, but for a photographer, not ideal. I also know that the sunset itself is going to be a little bit off center from like where I'm trying to shoot, at least for the shot that I have in mind. But I thought it would be more interesting to come out here and sort of walk you through or have you tag along for my hike. And also, at least I get a good video out of this, even if I don't get the shot that I'm looking for. I think it'll be something a little bit different and unique versus the first couple of episodes that I shot. So let's go. So I have about an hour until sunset, and it's only about a 3/4 of a mile hike up to the top. So I have a bit of time to get up there, but one of the things I should have mentioned is I did check the weather apps that I discussed in episode 2, so go back and check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, some low-lying clouds, but they've become very sporadic by the time I got here, so the sky is completely blue at this point in time. So my plan as of now is to go up there, sort of crop in a bit or zoom in on the outcropping, probably get myself in there as sort of a focal point within the photo, and crop out a good portion of the sky, hopefully getting at least some color, but I don't expect it to be some amazing sunset tonight. I did bring my telephoto lens. It's 100 to 400 Tamron lens along for the ride. I hate bringing it on hikes because it is heavier than most of my lenses. But as a backup plan, in case I don't get the shot that I want, the backup plan is to zoom in and get a very close shot. So that extremely loud noise in the background, they're actually doing some fighter jet training out here. They do this every once in a while in the gorge. But these planes are extremely fast and extremely loud. So I saw a couple of them fly by, but if I can get a video of one of them as I continue this hike, I'll definitely include that as well. So it's extremely windy up top, so I'm not sure how much I'll get of filming actually up top there because the wind is it's got to be 45, 50 mile an hour gusts up there. There's a front that moved in early this morning. I think the forecast had said it might be out of the way by this afternoon, but it's still pushing its way through, so it's loud. I'll try and do what I can, but we'll see. So I found a spot on the other side of the mountain. It's a little bit tucked away by these rocks over here, a little bit more safe from the wind. There's a pretty good view out to the east side, obviously the sun setting in the west. So we'll see how much of that reflects off on the east side. But I'm gonna stick around, just hang out, have a beer, and see what the sunset brings. So I did notice as I was sitting here and waiting for sunset that Grandfather Mountain over there across the valley seems to be catching some low level clouds. So I am happy that I brought my long telephoto lens with me. I'm going to continue to watch that, and if that catches color, that'll be a nice sort of consolation prize for being up here in the wind. So the sun has nearly set. I think I walked away with a couple of pictures that I'm pretty happy with. I don't know if it's anything that I'll share out to social media or not. But it was wild. It's very windy up here. I lost my hat at one point in time, ended up in a tree. Good news is I was able to recover it. But I mean, in general, just nice to get out here. The colors of the sunset was great. I don't know that I necessarily got the composition that I was hoping for, but I'll throw a couple up so that you guys can check it out and let me know what you think. So I guess I lied about shooting everything on the trail, but I did want to pop back into the studio because I did get the composition that I was hoping for, but I had to get a little bit creative with how I put that together, not just in the field, but also how I post-process that. So I want to walk through that really quickly in the photos that I captured out there, and then how I put it all together in Photoshop when I got back into my studio. But first I'm going to pop up that photo here and sort of show you what it looks like. So this is the photo that I had in mind when I first planned out this hike/photo session. Me perched down there on that little rock outcropping facing the mountains in the background. And to add a little bit of depth of field, having that rock over to the left, didn't know exactly what that was going to look like when I first planned this out, but the idea was to have sort of that depth where you have the bored rock up front, you had myself in sort of the middle ground, and then the mountains out in the background. Had this been a better sunset, I would have included more of the sky, but because it was pretty bland, I left just a small sliver of sky just to show the sort of curvature of the mountains, but that was about it. So let's jump into how I composed this photo out in the field first and foremost. So I've imported 2 photos into Photoshop. One being just this sort of photo of the outcropping with the bored rock in the foreground. You can see that I'm not in this shot. So I took this shot on the tripod, holding on pretty tightly because it was very windy, shooting at a high shutter speed to make sure I didn't get any wobble or blurring in the background. So that's how I got that piece of it. And then I took a second photo of myself. And you can see this is a little bit messy. This sort of blurry black spot in the corner, in the left, right corner, is my backpack actually. So what I had done is I set down the camera on my backpack and sort of just aimed it towards that outcropping. And what I had done is I actually set up my remote shutter and put that sort of as level as I could on my backpack, aimed it towards the outcropping, walked down there and snapped this photo. So what I did from there in order to blend these 2 layers together is I essentially just copied the photo with myself in it over on top of this other photo, just the general photo that I had on my tripod. So you can see I got 2 layers there. And then from there, really just lassoing around myself like this. And you can see that I increased my feather so it's not a very strict line. So you're not getting like this real cut or sharp edges around it. And then from there, just selecting the inverse, deleting out the rest from that. And then you can see now that I have that, it doesn't align perfectly. So just moving myself over like so. And putting myself there on the edge. Obviously it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but that's essentially how I blended these 2 layers together to get myself into the photo. Just making sure that I had sort of that same sharp edge really to align to, made it a lot easier for this exercise. And from there I exported this photo and edited it further in Lightroom, just doing some of that regular post-processing to clean it up, make it a little bit, in this case was maybe probably a little bit overexposed. So brightening it up a little bit, bringing out some of the contrast in the mountains, and then adding some warmth to it. But that's essentially how I put this photo together. Like I said, had to get a little bit creative. It was super windy out there on the mountain, so just having the camera on a tripod and me walking down that hill certainly it would have blown over and my camera likely would have been shattered. So wasn't taking that risk. So I got a little bit creative and shot this in 2 separate shots, knowing that I could come into Photoshop later and blend those 2 shots together to create the image that I had in my head. So I know this episode was a lot of different things at once. There's a little bit of me hiking, there's a little bit of me on site, there's a little bit of the post-processing aspect it. So let me know what you like best about this video, or just conceptually what you like best. Is it more the hike along type stuff? Is it more sort of the technical post-processing in Lightroom and Photoshop type stuff? Just leave a comment below and I'll certainly look at it and help steer future episodes. If you haven't gotten a chance to go back and look at my other episodes, I think I'm up to 5 now, go back and check out those ones. There is some tie back to this episode here in those ones. I know I mentioned episode 2 with the weather apps, everything like that. So go back and check that one out. Otherwise, if you're enjoying the content and you want to make sure that you don't miss an episode, I'm doing these about every 2 weeks at this point. Hopefully I'll start to throw in some more so I can get up to like once a week that I'm posting something. But go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. That way you don't miss anything. And as always, thanks for watching and enjoy the weekend. Hope you get out there and hike.